The values are whatever you've learned as a child from your belief system, from your religion, or from your where you grew up. And because I moved to the States and everything was completely different, in all honesty, I had to look at everything as the years went by to go, wait a minute, is that really true? So one of my values is I value people. I no longer look at individuals as
Hello, Rima. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so glad to see you.
Amazing to see you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm so grateful we get to do this across the world, that we can speak with anyone anywhere in the world. I'm in the States and you are in Israel. So that's so neat to me. It still boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. Listen, we used to be neighbors in the past.
Yes, yes. We still are
You-
neighbors.
yeah, it's amazing today how you could contact people from that far away, and I think it's beautiful. By the
That's
way,
wonderful. Yes.
I think that also has to do a lot with our subject today about values. When I'm not sure what exactly said in the intro, but when people, appreciate and have, their core values, many people, relationship and family is in their core values, right? And today, when you have this opportunity to connect from far away, that it's amazing. I love it. You could actually put that value of relationship, family, whatever it is, like in the top, because you could talk, you could video. It's great. I love it.
Me too. It's interesting that when we talk about values and you break it down into bits and pieces, and communication becomes part of the value to be able to connect with people, that as a younger person, I didn't think about it. Now I actually take the time and delve into the little bits and pieces and go, oh, what makes values? How do I look at my values and what is valuable to me? And connecting with people is a core one because it makes everything feel that you're alive, that there is a purpose to being in this world, that there's a purpose for really seeing the other individual. So that's one of my core values, is to look at communication and getting better at it. And now that we have this incredible technology that you can connect with anyone, have you taken the time, like within yourself, to go, what means something to me and why does it mean something to me?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think in general, when it comes to values, actually, you got me there because I was about to ask you a similar question, but I'll go first. I think the question that you asked me, I asked it to myself a lot about values because I really believe that our values is something that drives us. So, life could change from here to there. I'll re-say that life, it's not that it can change, life will change from here to there, and things will happen. Life is not our control, and we will also change. One time when we're in college we could be like that, later on in life will be different, and different communities will also be maybe a little bit different because the community has a lot of affected us, but our core values, and that's where I asked the questions that you asked me just now, are something that usually doesn't change. Okay, so since our core values is something that leads us in life, I think it's really important to understand what are those core values. Now, I believe that they might change, not as in the value, but maybe it's the way you see it. So, as the way I see relationship, maybe it will change, but relationship will be for me in the top. So, respecting each other, kindness, gratitude for myself, for other people. Those are values that are set in the stone. And when it comes to those core values, I think it's really important to ask ourselves those questions, like why is this a core value? Why is it so important? And if we still get the answer that it's still important for us, amazing. By the way, we might get that answer that it's not, but if it is, so okay, it's a value that is important for me. Where do I ask myself, okay, where do I meet that value in the business? Where do I meet the value in the relationship with myself? Where do I meet that value in the relationship with other people? almost like in anything that I do in life. Now, I remember now, as I'm telling this, someone was asking me like, yeah, how is it that you could always think about these things and be grateful for them, and then I can't do it always, but I could always try. So, uh, so the same thing over here. Like I ask myself those questions about the values and try to see where those values. After asking those questions, I decide that they're still my values, my core values. I'll see where I could find that in my day-to-day life. I'll just give you another small example. I was talking with a friend lately, and when I say lately, I mean the past few days. And he told me that he got this amazing opportunity in business, something really good that also pays a lot, has a lot of opportunity for growth, and then he decided not to take it. So I asked him why. Like I was curious. Like I understand. He said no, but I asked him why, and then he said, I don't feel my values are met over there. I feel like in terms of my like inner values, my inner goals, where I'm right now, it's better for me. So it gives that answer going back to what you said. When we have those values, we understand what's important for us. That helps us to navigate life in a better way. So a little bit long answer, but yeah.
No, it's a great answer. And the thought came into my mind when you were speaking. And I don't know if it's because of the circles that we're involved in, that you hear those conversations more often and you see people that are really open to looking at themselves and their values and what matters to them more than I used to see in my younger days. Or maybe the blinders were on when I was younger and was too busy, and I put that in quotes, too busy, just doing things. Now, as time is going by, I take a lot more time to appreciate things and to look at what matters, so that it comes back to what we're talking about as values, is what is valuable to my life, what is valuable to my family, what is valuable to my friends and community, and why does it matter so much? That conversation is so, I'm going to call it delicious. Because for us to be talking about this, I don't recall, like in my parents' days, that they would have those type of conversations. It was rare. Now you get to see more. It doesn't matter what gender it is, that there's a little more openness about talking about values and the things that genuinely make a difference to us. And you'll see that they're not much different as you go across the globe, as you go across the countries. It doesn't matter where you are. There's something innate in us for us to connect, to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, to use that word value, to be valued in who we are. So that's kind of neat to be able to really look at them a lot more deeper and have those conversations. Your friend made that his priority of taking on a job or not taking on a job. And that comes into me daily as I work with my parents. I'm at home, I'm a caretaker, but I get to connect with people throughout the world via phone. And I value someone's time. I value you for getting on this call and really being authentic in how we're talking, what we're saying, that it's not a facade. It's the real person that I'm talking to. So one of my values is authenticity, and it's taken me years, honestly, a year, to let go of a lot of the beliefs, the things that were taught to me, that I get to look at them from my lens to go, is that really what I value? Is that how I see the world? Or is that simply something that I learned from various pieces and made that my way of living, that now I can go, wait a minute, those aren't the things that I value the most, that I can look at them and begin to go, I don't need to be that way. I can change. I can actually make the decision and make the change. And I have through the years. Have you been through one of those conversations with yourself?
Yeah, for sure. It is only if you feel comfortable. Would you like to give an example that you like? There are values that you grew up with, and now, like you're saying, they're not necessarily yours.
Sure. grew up in Lebanon. I was born in Lebanon. So being from a certain culture, you're taught that you stick with your culture, that you learn certain things, and that the values are whatever you've learned as a child from your belief system, from your religion, or from your where you grew up. And because I moved to the States and everything was completely different, in all honesty, I had to look at everything as the years went by to go, wait a minute, is that really true? So one of my values is I value people. I no longer look at individuals as a certain religion or a certain race or a certain thinking. I look at a human being as a human being, and I see them from the perspective of where are they coming from? What have they learned in their journey? What are the things that they have come across? And I go into deep conversations so that I can genuinely understand them. And if given the opportunity to allow them to understand me, because that's all it comes down to. So that's one of the things that I've learned to adjust around, that I let go of judgment. As soon as I start judging, I go, where's that coming from? That's me. Where is that coming from? So that I can be a lot more open, so that I can go back to kindness and respect and love and all the things we talk about. So that's one good thing for me. How about you?
I love that. Especially the part about judgment. Many times we'll put like tags on people, and like first before the judgment, we'll put the tag, and then we'll have a judgment. Well, who said that that tag is that person? That human being is much more than what we think he is. So who are we to put on him the tag or on her the tag? Second, if they do have the tag, who are we to judge? I love what you said, but it's respecting the people for who they are, okay, not for who we think they need to be. So I love that, number one. And I'll also share with my experience. Of course, there are a few different things, but I'll share. Talking earlier before we went on camera, and a little bit about relationships. So I have a lot what to say over there, but we'll talk now just a little bit about values. Over here, it's not that the value changed; it's that what that value meant changed. Okay, so what I mean over here, so I'm a big believer in honesty and putting things on the table. So I always used to say and still say when I go out with a girl. So I told her, I don't want to think what you think. I want to know what you think, and the opposite. Because many times in relationships, the challenge comes when we start making assumptions about what the other person we think they think, and then we react in that to a certain way that might bring another reaction from them, and then we just create this whole thing out of thin air. So I might have wanted to do something good, but because she thought something else, so she meant it as something negative, and then she comes with a negative attitude, and then I'm like, wait, I try to do something good. Why are you like that? So I always thought like, I don't want to think what you think. I want to know what you think, and the opposite. Okay, so also I need to put things on the table. So honesty was like it's like a core value by me. But then with time, I understood that honesty is still a core value by me, but there are times for everything. Okay, so not everything, in one shot to put everything on the table. Okay, let's be honest. Let's just put everything on the table. I want everything here. I want to be honest. I don't want to lie. So with time and the certain relationship, yes, I'll be honest. I'll put things on the table. But two things. Number one is there's a time for everything. Okay, and I'll say three things. Number one, there's a time for everything, and not on the beginning you put everything on the table. Number two, now with any human being, I'll put everything on the table. Like in my relationship, maybe with her, it's not relevant to put that on the table because actually it would do more damage. And number three was put everything on the table. But if it's something that, even if I mean good, but it's something that the other person can change and others get hurt from it, no reason to put it on the table. There are things that I could keep for myself and talk with about my friends, not about her, but about something specific. So yes, honesty, but to know when, to know with who, and to know what. So the honesty is still there in my core value, but it changed the way I look at it. So that core value still drives my ship. I believe that core values drive our ship and can help us to navigate through life when things look complicated. Just put everything down, put all the noise aside, and look at our core values and understand, okay, these are core values. Based on this, I could make the next decision. Makes things more simple. So also for me over here, in relationships, it's a value that I still have, but the way I look at it is now different.
And it's interesting you're saying that, yeah, because it's true. You don't have to say everything to everyone all at the same time, because the relationship might be different. And someone who you're beginning a relationship with, there isn't that depth yet for you to be able to engage and feel like you're safe in your sharing. It takes genuine time, and it takes the ability for both people to go, we're on the same path and you're safe to share with me. It's safe for us to talk about this and go a little deeper, because you do have to dig deeper even when you're honest, because it goes back to the same thing. That person is not coming from the same space that you're in. So for them to understand it, you might have to take a little more time to invest the energy to explain, to allow them to see who you are. But I can see in relationships, honestly, communication is as big as honesty, because sometimes you're communicating honestly, but it's not coming off right. And you have to be able to say to someone, did you really understand me? Did you really hear what I just said? And it took me years to learn that, to really ask the person, it's like, tell me what you actually heard me say. Tell me what you think I just said. And sometimes what comes back at you is just, oh, okay. And you learn so much by simply asking the person, just let me know what you heard. And the answers are always fascinating. How someone, because of their own thinking, their own stuff, will interpret one word something completely different. So for me, a value is to really allow the person to hear me, but allow them also the opportunity to open back up and go, what did you just hear from me? That doesn't happen in every conversation. Otherwise, you'd be spending your entire day just going back and forth. But
For
to
sure.
keep that communication line open is the best thing in any relationship, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a work relationship. I think that's one of our breakdowns, is the communication part. And where are you coming from? What are your intentions behind that communication? That's where the honesty needs to come in the most, I think.
For sure. I totally agree with you, and I think, Rima, it's beautiful what you just now said. And when we understand that, and we could even take it deeper in a second, but I think it's beautiful what you said about asking the other person what you heard that I said, because I think when we understand that, the whole game of communication changes, and we can improve it. Like, we could take the whole game of communication to a whole different realm. Like, it's amazing, because you just now said, okay, you spoke with someone, and you might have wanted to bring a certain message to the table, but they heard something different. They heard a whole different thing. So I think what you just now says, it's worth gold and much more than that, because that really changed the way we communicate with people, and the deepness of the relationship that we create, because of understanding that point. And I think what I wanted to say is also that, basically, also towards us, asking ourselves, many times we're stuck in our thoughts, and it's like your mind is going like this, and like you're going crazy. But it's asking ourselves, wait, what am I telling myself right now? So kind of like doing a zoom out and asking ourselves, what do we mean when we say, when these thoughts go on? Like, are they part of us? Are they not part of us? So I think that value of and that tip of, trying to understand the other person, what they said, it like, what if they understood what we said, so the same thing for ourselves, asking ourselves, like, wait, what is it? Why am I going through this story 2,000 times in the same day? Like, what is it saying to me? Like, what am I saying to myself? And I think that could also really improve for ourselves, our understanding of ourselves. And then when we're more clear of who we are, and many times, or most of the time, it's not our thoughts, so then we could also communicate much better outside. And of course, still ask that question. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. It's for communication, that's it's worth gold to really change relationships. So
I
that's
had a
beautiful. Thank you.
conversation very recently with someone through our network, and the best way I can describe it, when we first got on the call, I could feel and sense that this person is very guarded, as if they're asking in their own minds, like, what is it that you are wanting from me? Why are you calling? Well, I could feel that. I could feel the energy. And I took the time to allow them to understand that I'm connecting to get to know them, because there was something that was said on one of the calls that really intrigued me about who they are. And once they could understand and feel that I'm simply connecting simply to get to know them, you could feel like their shoulders relaxed, their expression relaxed, and then the conversation flowed beautifully. And I think it happens a lot with people because they feel guarded because of whatever has gone on in their life. They might feel guarded of, why is this person approaching me? So being honest, being clear in what your intention is to talk with someone, to get to know someone, that makes the conversations go so much better if they're open to hearing you.
Important one there. Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I think also something what you just now mentioned about then, about if they're open to hear us, has also to do with what you said before about, values, how they change. Like you said that when you were in a certain phase in life, you had certain values, and then later on you had different ones, when you left. And that has to do with what you just now said now, because the fact that we have changed and maybe we changed the way we interpret our values, or we change values, doesn't mean that the people that were with us need to come with us on the same ship. So we could be of example for wherever we are, but don't try, like we shouldn't try. I think, being like don't be like the lecturer telling other people, okay, you should also jump on my ship on those values. So that's exactly, what you said about, if they're not open to hear, we're just making things worse. So
Yes. That was one
no,
of the most beautiful things about moving countries, honestly. And us connecting with so many different people throughout the world is to be able to see the person and to see who they are. Because that, for me, gave me the opportunity to go, well, look at that. Look at all the things that are available in this world. Look at all the wonderful people that are in this world. So that judgment dropped drastically. So opening up the lines throughout the world has made it easier to see the person as they are. Kind of taking us back to the opening. It's like, what are the values? Well, the values are based on what the person has been exposed to. And now that we have the opportunity to be exposed to so many different cultures and different people, if you're open again, and I say that to everybody, if you're open and willing to look within yourself to go, where did I learn that and why does that matter to me? That's when you can start to see that values take on a different feeling to them. Like you said earlier, you still value family, you still value relationships, you still value certain things, but the way you go about them becomes so much more meaningful. Like I can tell you with my parents, honestly, when I first started the journey of being caretaker, I was challenged because I was attempting to run things. Now I see them as they are, as the individuals that they are, and I go with the flow so that they're happy, that they're comfortable. It's not my way, it's what is right for them because of who they are. And that took a bit, and I still, there are days I go, wait, those that's you, Rima. That has nothing to do with what's happening with them. It has to do with you and your own little boxes that you gotta still shatter through. Does that make sense?
that makes sense, and I'm sure. I don't think I'm sure they're blessed having you as a daughter. So. Wow, that makes like so much sense. And even more than that, I'm going back to what you said at the beginning about judgment. We all move different places in life, and like we said, usually our values we might add some, but the core will usually stay. And but I think that something's really important. Something that is really important is what you said, like the no judgment, and don't try to force ourselves, not try forcing our values ourselves on other people. Because like you mentioned, like we all come from different backgrounds, and now we see like we're exposed to all different type of people. And sometimes I say it's like it's like when you go in the when you go on a boat in the sea. The sea is huge. The ocean is huge. There's room for many boats above the sea level, under the sea level. The animals, there's room for everyone. Don't worry, it's all good as long as we respect each other. So many times I grew up also, with people that are different from me in a lot of different ways. And also through life, I have friends that have changed, and I always tell them, you do you, I do me, as long as we respect each other. Same thing with values. No, as long as no one's hurting, and the will is to do good. And or we could also say what's good and what's not. But we know what's hurting and what's not. So I think if we work in that way, so like you said, have our values and other people have theirs, then we could always sharpen our values through seeing other people, but not through them forcing us to listen to them. Which like you said before, like a person needs to be open. So I think values is something beautiful, something that each person, human being, needs to understand what are their values, because they're really a way to navigate through life and making things more simple. The second we understand those values, really everything in life that starts getting complicated. Okay, these are my values. Does it stand with my values? Yes or no? Yes, amazing. Okay, let's see how it works. No, leave it. Move. So I think that's something that could be really, really helpful for anyone to understand, and also not to be hard on ourselves. If our values change, if the way we value something change, or maybe even the value change, I think the core usually stays, but like no reason to be hard. Okay, we change, things change, values, the way you look at them also change. So if you have, by the way, any tips for people to find their values, that would also be beautiful. But I know you're with your parents, so you told me in terms of your time.
You know what? You touched on something that's important, actually, is when you begin to change, not because your values changed, it's really challenging for people around you when they see you changing, and for them to adjust sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And that's where you got to come back to yourself and go, why does this matter to me? Why do I need to take this step or go in this direction, or I no longer believe or I'm willing to do certain something because I am no longer that person. I have grown, I have changed. Those are tough conversations for yourself and for the individuals around you. And a lot of times they may not understand you, but if you stay respectful to yourself and to the other person in the way that you show up, that whether you agree with me or not agree with me, this is where I am at right now, and I would love for your love and support to be in this space. Allow me to grow, allow me to change. And if they do, wonderful. If they don't, that tells you that you have to stand your ground. And if you don't, for your own sake, if you don't, that's when a lot of people look at their life and go, how did I get here? It's those little bits and pieces that you didn't adhere to who you are and what you knew within you, that all of a sudden years go by and you go, oh, what happened? You can see the clues. You can go back and look at them. So part of what I would say to people is listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, and understand when you're doing something, are you doing it because it's the best thing for what you know right now and what you understand? Or are you in any way, shape, or form doing it because you're attempting to prove something to someone, or you're attempting to spite someone, or are you doing it for good intentions because that's the right step for you right now? That's how I think of values becoming bigger and more important and shaping your life.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you very much for
Where are
sharing
we
that.
on?
Oh, yeah.
We're at 10:40. I know time goes by so
Yeah.
quickly when we're having great conversations.
Time flies. Time flies.
Yes. Yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say before we say bye to our live?
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate, that amazing value that you have of family, putting family first, being a caretaker of your parents. I think that's amazing. So I appreciate you for that. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I am going to say one last thing. Family is your immediate family, your community, and the entire human family. So as soon as that thought comes in my mind, go, that is my family everywhere. That changes the way I do things.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Yair.
Nice. Thank you
Bye.
very
See you
much.
later.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed the video and you got some tools to overcome your challenges and light your path. For us to help other people, please press that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget that the most amazing things in life are the one you take for granted.